adjusting one's life level according to their love. Xuefeng, November 11th, 2020. Translated by Yu and edited by Care. Every level of life has its own corresponding level of love which is different from all others. We can all examine our own loves to determine whether they are terrestrial or celestial. If your love troubles you and makes you miserable, then it is terrestrial. If it pleases you, then it is celestial. If your love only includes one partner throughout your life, then it is terrestrial. The more lovers you include, the more you demonstrate celestial love. If the object of your love is fixed, then it is terrestrial. If you follow your destiny and nature, then it is celestial. If you are jealous because your lover has feelings for others, then your love is terrestrial. If you are happy that your lover loves many, then it is celestial. If you find love to be divisive and that the more lovers your lover has, the less they will have for you, then yours is terrestrial. If you know that your love is in line with cosmic holography, then no matter how many partners you love, every one of them will be complete and your love is celestial. If you want to control, guide, train, and make your lover behave according to your standards, then your love is terrestrial. If you give your lover full freedom, then it is celestial. If you want to be inseparable from, pester, and always be with the object of your love, then your love is terrestrial. If you have embedded the object of your love into your consciousness, then no matter whether you are far away from each other or you live together, they will still taste very sweet and your love is celestial. If you cannot be completely magnanimous about love, and you are hiding something, then your love is terrestrial. If you bear yourself open to love nakedly, then yours is celestial. Analyzing and determining the pattern and state of one's love can help them to understand the level of their life. If your love is terrestrial, then you must remain a human forever. If your love is celestial, then you are no longer a human being, but a celestial being, and you can go to the fairyland after your life's journey ends. 只有雪峰式共产主义才能解决这些问题. Only Xuefeng-style communism can solve these problems. Xuefeng, November 19th, 2021. Translated by Yu and edited by Peter. Elderly care, singleness, marriage breakdown, official corruption, environmental pollution, children's education and protection, poisonous food, drug abuse, whoring, gambling, fraud, theft, robbery, the integrity crisis, corruption, bribery, domineering, etc. cannot be solved by relying on historical experience and current people's cognitive level, nor can it be solved by religious teachings such as Christianity, Buddhism, Islam, etc. It cannot be solved by the ideas of Mao Zedong, by the theories of Lao Tzu and Confucius, not to mention by learning from the West about the separation of three powers system. They can only be solved by Xuefeng-style communism. Here I will first tell you the fact that moral education is not as good as system construction, and a good system is better than any form of moral preaching. Elderly care is a major issue in China and the world. In the past, the issue of providing for the elderly was dependent on children. Now many Western countries rely on the welfare system formulated by the state. Whether it is relying on children or the welfare system, it is not the best way to provide for the aged. Nursing homes of all kinds are a very sad way of providing for the elderly. Caring for the elderly, allowing the elderly to live among the young and children, and to enjoy a comfortable life in their later years is the best way to support the elderly. In this regard, Life Genuine's second home has fully proved through 11 years of practice that the Xuefeng-style communist life is the best way to provide for the elderly. There are more and more single and divorced people, so how to solve their sex life problems? Let it go? Control it rigorously? Restrict by regulations? No matter what method is used, if the problem of sex life is not solved, there will inevitably be endless social problems. This problem can only be solved perfectly by the Xuefeng-style communist life mode, and it will hardly go wrong, including sexually transmitted diseases issues. There are more and more bachelors. Parents have no idea what to do. Neither can the bachelors themselves do anything about it. Should these people be left single for the rest of their lives? How can society solve this problem? There is no choice. The most satisfactory solution to this problem is to enter the Xuefeng-style communist society. The problem of official corruption has not been solved for thousands of years. There are more and more people who ride on the heads of the common people and accept the government's pay. They bully and oppress them while eating their food. This chronic social disease can only be eradicated by the Xuefeng-style communist life mode. It is because there are no officials in the Xuefeng-style communist life mode, and everyone is a laborer. People no longer need managers. Officials disappear, and the problem of official corruption caused by these officials also disappears. The issue of children's upbringing and education has become a collective matter, not a parent's matter anymore. Since children live in a collective, there is no possibility of abducting and selling children, and the phenomenon of children being spoiled, indulged, and misguided cannot happen. The Xuefeng-style communist life has proved through 11 years of practice with the children that the education and protection of the children can be described as flawless. In the Xuefeng-style communist life mode, stealing will become extinct because you have no place to store the things you steal, you cannot use them, and it is not necessary for you to steal other people's things at all. In the Xuefeng-style communist life mode, absolutely no one will produce poisonous food. The reason is very simple: the food you grow and produce will also be eaten by yourself. As for drug abuse, prostitution, whoring, fighting, bullying honest people, etc., there is almost no such phenomenon in the Xuefeng-style communist life mode, because you have no conditions and opportunities to do these things. Once you do it, you will have no place to stand in this civilized group, so you dare not. The integrity crisis is related to interests. When there is no conflict of interest between people, the integrity crisis will disappear. In the Xuefeng-style communist life mode, there is no direct interest relationship between people, and it is impossible to form cronies or special relationships. Everyone behaves in strict accordance with the 800 values for new era human being, so there is no integrity crisis. Of course, it is not so absolute, especially when it comes to affectional issues between men and women. There will also be some integrity crises. This is because the Xuefeng-style communism system is not fully operational. For example, due to the small number of homes, it is impossible to change personnel in time. As time goes by, there will be some emotional disputes between people, but once the home mode is fully operational, there is absolutely no possibility of an affectional integrity crisis, because the two persons that are together today may go to different homes tomorrow, and there will be little chance for them to see each other again for the rest of their lives. So, people will not work hard on the feelings between men and women, but only on their own qualities. It can be said that many unhealthy phenomena that have appeared in human society for thousands of years will be greatly reduced or even eliminated in the Xuefeng-style communist life mode. Then, why is it so difficult to popularize such an ideal human life model and difficult for people to accept? The government does not allow it because the government is mainly composed of officials, and officials want to enjoy special treatment. In the Xuefeng-style communist life mode, no one can enjoy special treatment, so of course government officials will not accept it, but will suppress Xuefeng-style communism. The rich do not allow it, because what the rich are most afraid of is communism. The rich want to be above the rest. However, in Xuefeng-style communism, everyone is equal and there is no way to be above others. Therefore, they suppress Xuefeng-style communism. The common people don't want it. Though common people live a difficult and ordinary life, there is a hidden psychology in every common people's consciousness that they want to live better than others. In Xuefeng-style communism, the ideal of wanting to live better than others cannot be realized, so they would rather suffer than live in a Xuefeng-style communist society. Although the development and existence of the Xuefeng-style communism life mode is extremely challenging, it represents the future development of human beings. Sooner or later, people will live in the Xuefeng-style communism life mode, especially in China. China has special national conditions. Chinese history and culture tell us that capitalism does not work in China. In history, all rich people face a huge crisis of survival. When you become rich, either robbers come to rob you and kidnap you, or the revolutionary movement will fix you. What's harsher is that when the government's finances are in trouble, the rich become the targets of harvest. Therefore, taking the European and American capitalist road will not work in China. As for the socialist road, practice has proved to be a failure because the common people have not enjoyed a happy, joyous, free, and blessed life because of socialism. In short, the best life for mankind in the future will be in the Xuefeng-style communism life mode, especially for the Chinese nation. Anyone, even if you are well-educated, even if you have extraordinary intelligence and great ability, even if you are the second coming of Jesus Christ or Maitreyan Buddha or Ziwei Saint, you will not be able to create something more perfect than the Xuefeng-style communism life mode for human beings. 新冠病毒是魔鬼还是天使? Is COVID-19 a devil or an angel? Xuefeng, February 16, 2022. Translated by Qinyu and edited by Peter. A man of superior virtue does not show his virtue. A man of superior mercy demonstrates no mercy. Since the outbreak of the new corona epidemic, according to information on the internet, it is said that many animals have accelerated their reproduction. For example, there are more small turtles hatching on the beach. It is also said that the sky is clearer than before. For example, the snowy mountains, which have been blocked by smog for decades, now reappear to the Indians, and so on. According to online information, no child in one state in the United States has died from infection from the novel coronavirus. The death rate of children infected with novel coronavirus in the United States is much lower than that of the elderly. Again, according to online information, in the sixth wave of the epidemic in Japan, about 90% of the deaths were elderly people over 70 years old. Online information tells us that the novel coronavirus seems to be mainly aimed at the elderly because most of the dead are the elderly, but it is relatively kind to children and young people. What is the novel coronavirus going to do? Is it a devil or an angel? From the perspective of purifying the earth, it sees that there is too much garbage on the earth and the pollution is too serious, so it wants to purify the earth. Many animals are about to become extinct, so it hurried out to protect the nearly extinct animals. Because if all animals die out, humans cannot live either. From this point of view, the novel coronavirus seems to be a bit like an angel. From the perspective of population death, does it feel that there are too many people on the earth, and the earth's resources cannot support so many people? Many countries say that they are under immense pressure because the elderly population is increasing, so the novel coronavirus wants to take the elderly to heaven earlier, to leave more living space for young people and children. If this is the case, the novel coronavirus seems to be a bit like an angel. But this is a bit unfair to the elderly. For the elderly, it is simply the devil. If the novel coronavirus is an angel, then places with severe epidemics like the United States will benefit greatly. The more severe the epidemic, the greater the benefit. From this point of view, is the severity of the epidemic in the United States caused by their tacitly letting the epidemic spread? If the novel coronavirus is a devil, then places like China that are cleared for epidemic prevention will benefit the most, and the milder the epidemic, the greater the benefit. From this point of view, is the epidemic in China relatively mild compared to the United States because the Chinese know that it is the best policy to resolutely eliminate the virus? If the novel coronavirus is an angel who came with the mission of purifying the earth, then it will not stop there, but will continue with one wave after another. If the old coronavirus does not work, the new coronavirus cannot finish the task and the senior coronavirus will come into play. Anyway, it cannot go to heaven to explain this if it doesn't fulfill its mission. If the novel coronavirus is a devil and it just came out to cause trouble for mankind, then it will be locked in a cage under the full siege of mankind, and it will soon disappear without a trace. If the novel coronavirus is an angel, the more human beings guard against it, the more wrong they will be. The novel coronavirus is probably thinking, "My goodness, I'm here to help mankind, but stupid and ignorant human beings are beating and kicking me, condemning me both in speech and writing. They really take good intentions for evil." If the novel coronavirus is a devil, human beings must take strict precautions, and the stricter the precautions, the better. The novel coronavirus might be thinking, "My goodness, clever and cunning humans are too difficult to deal with. I'd better retreat, otherwise humans will break my legs." At this time, we cannot see the true face of the novel coronavirus, and we can only leave it to history to make a conclusion. 寄予未来中国领导人 A Messages for Future Chinese Leaders. Xuefeng, November 1st, 2021. Translated by Qinyu and edited by Peter. If you can make people live and work in peace and contentment, and make people live joyously, happily, freely, and blessedly, you are the savior of the world, and you are the Ziwei saint. If you do not let the common people live and work in peace and contentment, and don't let people live joyously, happily, freely, and blessedly, you are a bastard. A living devil. I will provide you with some ideas for reference. Follow America. West Germany followed the United States and became prosperous and strong, while East Germany went against the United States and became poor and desolate. South Korea followed the United States and became brilliant, while North Korea did the opposite and became closed and backward. Without theoretical analysis or logical reasoning, facts have proved that following the United States will be beneficial to the country and its people. In the era of confrontation with the United States, China was poor and backward. Due to China's reforms and opening up, China and the United States now have harmonious relations and China's economy has grown by leaps and bounds. Therefore, we must follow the United States. A strong entrepreneur, not a strong government. Allow thousands of entrepreneurs to be born and become stronger. Let the invisible hand of the market support or eliminate entrepreneurs. The government administration should not interfere with business. It is necessary to weaken or even abolish the governmental administrative agencies at and below the county level, and let entrepreneurs replace and exercise government functions there. And at the same time, liberalize the development of civil society organizations and allow civil society organizations and entrepreneurs to form a system of checks and balances. Make trade channels unobstructed and allow people to move around freely. Not obstruct the sea, business, internet, and borders, and fully open it all up. Let businessmen from all over the world come and go freely in China. Let academic groups and people from all over the world communicate and exchange information freely in China. And let Chinese people freely enter and leave the country to everywhere in the world to study, do business, establish enterprises, travel, and settle. It is not only necessary to recognize dual nationality, even triple or 100 nationalities, and allow for Chinese citizens to have multiple nationalities. The government should not participate in economic activities. There is infinite wisdom, vitality, and creativity among the people. They know how to survive and how to improve their lives. Entrepreneurs are more far-sighted than government officials. Dissolve all state-owned enterprises and leave banking, power, communications, transportation, etc. all to entrepreneurs to operate. As long as economic activities are involved, the government should not participate. The government should only be in charge of 5 things: foreign affairs, national defense, combating crime, combating monopolies, and providing free education and medical care. Except for setting up a press release office, leave it to society to run all media and let them run various news and information dissemination media on behalf of their own interests. Allow them to say anything they want to, and allow journalists to exist in every corner of the country. The power of journalists should be stronger than that of the police, while the government does not need to pay for the journalists, which is a good deal. Establish the awareness that private property is sacred and inviolable. The state cannot deprive its citizens of private property, nor can any political party or religious group. Only by ensuring the safety of private property can the country prosper. The people will live a happy life in peace and contentment, and money from all over the world will flow into China. At the same time, it should be guaranteed that private residences will not be disturbed by anyone. With private residences, the rule should be, the wind can enter, the rain can enter, and the king cannot enter. Without a reliable clue to prove that the residents have violated the law, the police should not be allowed to enter. Allow various faith-based groups to operate freely, learn from the ecological diversity of nature, and let all kinds of faith groups spread their teachings and ideas freely. The government should not support any faith groups, nor should it crack down on them, but leave them to live and die on their own. Abandon such disputes as doctrine and truth. Only think about and talk about how to make the common people live and work in peace and contentment, and do not talk about and argue about the advantages of capitalism, socialism, and communism, let alone talking about fighting and dedicating to the truth. As long as the general public likes it, shitism is acceptable. Do not assist poor countries, do not help backward countries, but you can provide emergency relief when disasters or special situations occur. To provide living security for the brave. As long as people are disabled because of their bravery for righteousness, the state should provide them with a free lifetime pension, which should not be lower than the national average standard of living. If they sacrifice their lives for righteous causes, The government must not only arrange and take care of all their funeral affairs, but also take care of their parents for the rest of their lives and provide education and other guarantees for their children until they graduate from school. The government should not care about private matters between the sexes. The sexual life between members of the opposite sex is a personal matter, and it belongs to the freedom of life. As long as both parties are willing, the government should ignore it, make no comments, let alone kidnap and judge them with high standards of moral and quality. It doesn't matter whether it is one wife with many husbands, one husband with many wives, 3 or 4 people having sex together, or thousands or 10,000 people together, the chairman and the secretary, a master and an apprentice, husband with mistresses, having an affair every night. As long as the participants are willing, without hurting others, then let everything flow eastward. To future Chinese leaders, may you be the Ziwei saint who comes to the world, and may you understand the principle of holography. If you can manage China with the principle of holography, China will become the center of human civilization, and the whole world will praise your wisdom and greatness. 才不对位是社会资源的一种浪费. Mismatching talents and positions are wastes of social resources. Xuefeng, August 30th, 2021. Translated by Qinyu and edited by Care. What a waste it would be to shell mosquitoes with big guns, but it would also be a waste to specialize in growing flowers to cook, and it is even more wasteful for those who have the potential to win Nobel Prizes to be running companies. Letting people with hairdressing and cosmetological skills work on assembly lines in factories are also wastes, and letting thinkers become government officials is even more wasteful. Having cats catch mice and dogs guard homes are good arrangements, but letting mice guard homes or dogs catch mice are mismatched talents. Having Churchill as the Prime Minister and Montgomery as the Field Marshal were wise matches, but having Churchill be a Field Marshal and Montgomery a Prime Minister would have been mismatched talents. The function of eyes is to see, of ears is to hear, of feet is to walk, of hands is to manipulate things, and of brains is to think. If you made the brain look, listen, walk, or manipulate things, but stop thinking, then it would be misaligned. If a brain were not doing brain business, but did the businesses of the eyes, ears, feet, or hands, then it would not only be putting the proverbial cart before the horse, but it would also be a huge invisible waste of its special resource. Talents are types of invisible social wealth with huge potentials, while mismatched talents and positions are invisible and huge wastes of social resources. The people are infinitely rich in creativity. For example, the infinite vitality bursting out of Chinese society at the beginning of China's reform and opening up is the result of the mobilization of the infinite creativity of the people. If the talents are aligned properly, endless material wealth, spiritual wealth, and soul wealth will be created. There are 2 main reasons for their misalignment. The first one is government regulations. The more that the government controls, the more that people's talents misalign. For example, it is difficult for China to produce Nobel Prize winners. This is not because the Chinese are stupid people, but because its government controls and intervenes too much. How can great scientists and thinkers be born without their talents being aligned properly? How can century-old shops and a large number of craftsmen's talents be born? The second is running for survival. Regardless of one's talents, they choose whatever they can do to make money, and their choices can be few. Why has the Guide of Human Spirits and Souls written so few valuable articles during the past 2 years? Because my talents have been misaligned. Most of my time and energy during this time have been spent running around for survival. I have awakened each morning at 5 o'clock, washed, and prepared breakfast for my guests. It is already 10 o'clock in the morning by the time I clear up the cups, plates, and tables after my guests have finished eating. Then I make my own lunch, and after that, I visit the guest rooms to clean up the trash left by my guests and take out the sheets, coverlets, hand towels, bath towels, and other linen used by the guests, wash them, and relay them. Next, I clean the guest rooms meticulously. After finishing this, it is already around 5 o'clock in the afternoon. During this period, I must wait for new guests to arrive at any time, to arrange the rooms for them, and then make dinner. After dinner, I clean the tableware used by the guests and myself throughout the day. Then I begin to fold the cleaned bedding and bathroom supplies. Now it is past 8 o'clock at night, and I must go to bed by 10 o'clock, or the next day's failure to get up on time would delay my guests' breakfasts. My real free time is no more than 2 hours, because there are a series of other things to do, such as shopping more than 30 kilometers away, tidying the yard and mowing, repairing improper parts, and so on. Now I must ask this question. Which is more important, for the tour guide to do this every day to make money or to write valuable articles? As the tour guide, I understand in my heart that this is a sorrow for mankind and a huge loss to civilization, but even more so, it is an incalculable loss to life genuine and its celestials. A bit alarmist, is it not? History will tell you the answer. As the tour guide, I know in my heart that my talents are misaligned and that I am putting the cart before the horse, but since humans cannot be aware of this, then I will take things as they are and enjoy the happiness and tranquility of ordinary life. Where is mankind's escape? How do we eliminate the phenomenon of misaligned talents? The answer lies in the tour guide's brain. 根头栽在了细节上. Stumbling on the details. Xuefeng. August 24, 2021. Translated by Chinyu and edited by Care. On January 28, 1986, the American Challenger launched and exploded 73 seconds later, killing all 7 of its astronauts in the space shuttle. What was the problem? The O-ring seal of the solid rocket booster on the right side failed. Such a large and complex collection of super-advanced science and technology resulted in a disaster that could not be avoided just because of the failure of a small, inconspicuous sealing ring. We had stumbled over a detail. Sierra, a 24-year-old computer engineer and job seeker, stood out in a competition among several thousand competitors and was selected because of her excellent performance during her interview with the boss. But when she went back to the boss office to retrieve the silk gloves she had left on the cabinet by the door when she first walked in, the boss noticed what she was doing. The next day, when she had not received a call for employment, she became concerned and called to ask why. The general manager answered that, "We had already chosen you, but then we found that you were forgetful. We engage in the design of electronic circuits, and there must be no mistakes." She had stumbled over a detail. On August 21, 2021, a young couple checked into my small hotel. Judging by their appearance and temperament, they appeared to be South American, and judging by their cars and clothes, they seemed to be having economic difficulties. However, they could stay in the high-end hotel that I manage, which showed me that they had certain patterns and methods to their pursuits. Late in the afternoon, the lady brought a box of food to be heated in the microwave. When I asked why they had come here, she said they wanted jobs. At that time, a desire arose in me to keep the couple in my hotel, but the next day I cooked breakfast for them and they were supposed to be ready at 8 o'clock sharp because I had everything ready for them at that time. But I waited and waited, and they did not come downstairs for almost an hour, and it was then that I dispelled the idea of keeping them. Why? Because an unpunctual person is someone you cannot count on and someone who will screw up jobs. So how could I keep them? Punctuality is a kind of faith. A lack of the former proves a lack of the latter, and people who do not have faith are unreliable. Perhaps they never knew that the real reason why they had arrived at the gate of heaven but had not been able to enter was only that one detail. Again, they had stumbled over a detail. Details are not unintentional accidental phenomena. They embody the meaning of people's lives, and they are comprehensive manifestations of their upbringings, self-restraint, and self-cultivation. If the details go wrong, it must be that the person lacks having enough self-improvement and self-cultivation. When people face dilemmas, their problems must lie in the imperfection of certain details, but they may never know that it is their imperfection of one or a few details that has led to their dilemmas. 一张残酷的能量流向图. A cruel energy flow diagram. Xuefeng. June 7, 2021. Translated by Chinyu and edited by Care. The day before yesterday, in the afternoon, I knelt on a mat to weed, loosen the soil, and fertilize the roses in front of the guest rooms. Why was the whole process of working so joyful? Because the roses were growing vigorously. I feel joy when I look at flourishing roses, and because of my joy, I like to weed them, loosen their soil, fertilize them, and finally water them. The cruel reality is somewhat different, however. More attention and energy should have been given to the weak ones. The strong ones can strengthen themselves and do not need much effort or care. The weaker that one is, the less care and energy they will be given. The stronger that one is, the more care and energy they will be given. You see, the higher one's official rank is, the more supporters and flatterers they will have, and the more people who will be sending them gifts. The more successful a business is, the more money banks like to lend to them, and the easier it is for them to borrow money and raise funds. The more handsome a man is, the more capable he is, and the more that beautiful women will want to marry him. Some men have married dozens or even hundreds of wives, and all of them were beautiful, gentle, and capable, but many men cannot find a single wife and can only remain lonely bachelors. The drier a place is, the less likely it will be receiving rain, but the wetter a place is, the more rain that will fall. The better, the more prosperous, the worse, the bleaker. Is this the law of nature? I consider myself a saint, so why do I also prefer the lush Chinese rose flowers from the bottom of my heart? I will expose more of my thoughts here. The more beautiful and sexier one looks, the more I like them. Oh my God, is that what a saint is like? I used to be a permanent resident of Zimbabwe, so why did I leave? I went to Vanuatu and wanted to build a home there, so why did I not? I am a Chinese citizen, so why did I leave my birth country and settle down in Canada? It turns out that essentially, I like better living environments. I finally understood what Christ Jesus meant when he said, "For whosoever hath, to him shall be given, and he shall have more abundance, but whosoever hath not, from him shall be taken away even that he hath." This is the energy flow diagram. After seeing and understanding this energy flow diagram, as people, we must strive to make ourselves excellent all round. The more excellent, the more energy one will get, and the more imperfect, the less energy they will get. It is useless to complain, to cry and shout, to blow up, or to have trouble with others. The only way that works is for you to make yourself excellent. This is the true meaning of God helps those who help themselves. 测试一下你是不是真男子. Are you a real man? Xuefeng, March 29, 2021. Translated by Chinyu and edited by Care. Having any of the following behaviors will reduce your manliness. Bullying those who are weaker than you. Bullying woman. Flattering those in power. Being jealous of people who are superior to you. Being oppressed outside, but then releasing your hostility at home. Being obedient outside but bossy at home. Having no courage to resist injustice. Intervening in internal struggles rather than to expand living spaces outside. Having any of the following behaviors will increase your manliness. Taking care of your own affairs without needing help. Making people around you happy, joyous, free, and blessed. Tolerating and caring for women, but never abusing them physically or emotionally. Believing that being sympathized and pitied by others is shameful. Taking action against and refuting evil when you should. Being as gentle as a sheep at home, but as capable as a tiger when outside. Never licking the asses of powerful people. Resolving malpractice issues which have always endangered societies. Making vigorous efforts to improve situations. Being chivalrous and unrestrained. 雪峰自恋看我像不像上帝使者. Xuefeng's narcissism. I must look and act as a messenger of the greatest creator. Xuefeng, April 19, 2021. Translated by Chinyu and edited by Care. The most important thing for people is to make themselves happy each and every day. When external influences are unable to make this happen, they must find ways to entertain, amuse, and love themselves. I, Xuefeng, am a person who can make myself happy every day. There are many ways to enjoy oneself. Let us see how I have made myself happy today. From the tax bills that I have paid to the government over the past 4 years, I have found that during that time, I have received more than 800 guests, 70% of whom have been from Europe, mostly Germany. 20% were from the United States. Canada, and Australia. 6% were from Japan, South Korea, and Hong Kong, and 4% were from various other countries. I checked on the booking website where 98% of the guests had given me full marks in their messages, rarely to other aspects of the hotel, but full marks to my personal service. Oh my God! I have satisfied 98% of my 800 guests, 90% of whom are strict and earnest white Westerners. My goodness! Am I really that special? At least I am an excellent server and waiter. Of course, There was one guest who only gave me 5 points, and my full score was only 10. So how did I fail him? I thought about it and finally concluded that he must have been scolded by his sister-in-law, and with nowhere else to vent his anger, he took it out on me. Or he might have dreamed that I abducted her, so he was angry with me. The above data is reliable because the booking website is external and is controlled by a Dutch agency. So there is no chance for me to do anything tricky, nor can I hire a shill to give me a high score because everyone who rates it must have booked a room through the website, has stayed in my hotel, and has paid a commission to the booking website. It is impossible to find anyone to rate and comment on the booking website at will. Yeah, the facts prove that I am a talent and I should be proud and happy. Do you all know how I let strangers pay me while complimenting me? For example, a young couple stayed in my hotel for one night and paid a room rate equivalent to more than 156 Canadian dollars and left a tip equivalent to 20 Canadian dollars. They also said on the website that I am a host worthy of $1 million. I hope that $1 million they mentioned are not Zimbabwean or Venezuelan currency, but at least Canadian currency. Here is how I did it. I combed my hair every day to be as smooth as if licked by a cow. My clothes were always clean and tidy. My gestures and expressions were always appropriate. I always smiled, never grinned evilly or giggled or laughed obsessively as if I were looking at my sister-in-law. If that were the case, my female guests would have called the police. Of course, one must learn to chat and joke with the guests as they eat. What can you joke about? Anything that can make them happy. Westerners like humor, so find something to make the guest happy. If you do this, they will be much more likely to rate you with high marks. See how easy it is to make strangers praise you. To make yourself and even strangers happy is the most meaningful thing in life. For the past 15 or 16 years, I have made hundreds of Chanyuan Celestials happy, or it can be said that I have coaxed them to be happy, and more than 170 Chanyuan Celestials have written articles to praise me emotionally. Thinking about them while I am in my bed makes me feel like I am sleeping on clouds. I just cannot help it, and if I were unhappy, I would feel as if I were betraying Chairman Mao himself. I finally realized the truth. The so-called messenger of the greatest creator is someone who can make everyone in the world happy so that they will feel glorious even if they are wearing split pants and are eating pickled vegetables and coarse foods. They will feel that they are more delicious than any delicacies. I have coaxed thousands of people to be happy, and when everyone in the world is happy, if I do not say so myself, everyone will say, "This Xuefeng guy must truly be a messenger of the greatest creator." Imagining the future, how can I not be happy? I would always rather be happy. 修心就是想把砖块磨成镜. To cultivate one's mind is to polish a brick into a mirror. Xuefeng, March 24, 2021. Translated by Chinyu and edited by Peter. The cultivating world always advocates that people should cultivate the heart. At first, I felt that this term was too profound to be understood. It must be right. But the more I practiced it, the more I realized that I was fooled and got the feeling that this was like teaching people to polish bricks into mirrors. Where is the mind? Is it inside the chest cavity or outside? Is it in cosmic time and space or in bread and milk? Is it square or round? Is it in black and white or in color? Is it made of meat or mud? Buddha Shakyamuni warned, neither the past, the present, nor the future of the mind can be found, since the heart, the mind, does not exist. What should I cultivate? How should I cultivate it? House leaks can be repaired, clothes can be repaired, mobile phones can be repaired, roads can be repaired, but how do we fix the mind? Phenomenon gives birth to minds, but minds can transcend over phenomenon. The mind does not exist. Without the phenomena of the universe and without it, there would be no mind. 100 years ago, was there such a saying as, "Hi, he only has watching TV on his mind"? No, because before TV appeared, how could you have watching TV on your mind? Ask a 7 or 8-year-old child, "Is your wife in your heart?" How does the 7 or 8-year-old child answer? He does not have a wife at all, so how can he have his wife on his mind? Some people say, his mind is smaller than the eye of a needle. How is it possible to cultivate a mind that is smaller than the eye of a needle? Some people say his mind is bigger than the sky. How is it possible to cultivate a mind that is bigger than the sky? In Zen, There is a theory of changing your surroundings with the mind. This statement is reasonable. At least you can understand what it means. But if you advocate cultivating the mind, it is like a tiger that wants to eat the sky with nowhere to start. So, I understood that the so-called cultivating of the mind was a trap to fool a fool. 放弃做自己才是修炼的上乘之路. The best method of self-cultivation is to give up on being yourself. Xuefeng, March 24, 2021. Translated by Qinyu, edited by Peter. The saint has no decided opinions and feelings, but regards the people's opinions and feelings as his own. The saint has no sense of self. He senses Tao and unites with Tao. The Tao is me, and I am the Tao. Christ Jesus taught us, if any want to become my followers, let them deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. For whoever wants to save their life will lose it, but whoever loses their life for me will save it. Buddha Shakyamuni taught us, if a bodhisattva thoroughly understands the dharma of no self, he is a true bodhisattva. Celestial Laozi taught us, is what we value and what we fear within ourselves. We have fears because we have a self. When we do not regard that self as a self, what have we to fear? Therefore, he who values the world as his self may then be entrusted with the government of the world. And if he who loves the world as his self, the world may then be entrusted to his care. Only by being unselfish can one fulfill one's wishes, and only by being selfless can one accomplish himself. So, give up on being yourself, do not be yourself. Only when you abandon yourself, you will be completely relaxed and free. Only by being selfless can you enter the kingdom of freedom. Self-improvement means improve yourself by abandoning yourself. Self-refinement means refine yourself by abandoning yourself. Without abandoning yourself and insisting on being yourself, you will never understand the truth of becoming a celestial, Buddha, or God, and you will never be able to climb the peak of life and life. The model of being yourself is too small, and its realm is too low. There is no being yourself in the teachings of gods, Buddhas, and celestials. Instead, they teach us not to have an ego, but to be selfless. With an ego, there are thorns and spears everywhere. There are always contradictions and conflicts. One is unable to live in harmony with people, unable to live in harmony with nature. Without an ego, there are green hills and blue waters everywhere. There are light breezes and a clear moon always. One can get along well with people, unite with nature, and unite with Tao. When contradictions and conflicts occur, that's because you want to be yourself. If you do not want to be yourself, but melt yourself into the other party, where are the conflicts and contradictions from? Why do couples divorce? Because they both want to be themselves. China and the United States are in conflict because they both want to be themselves. In a collective, if everyone gives up on being himself, the collective will be harmonious and auspicious. If everyone wants to be himself, the collective will be a mess of quarrels and fights. Readers may want to ask, what if I give up on myself, but the other party is uncivilized and barbaric? Should I bear insults, be lowly, and be bullied and oppressed by him? Here we need to trace history, to track down the reasons, and ask ourselves why I met him or her. The debt is to be paid, and we must believe in karma. At the same time, we must firmly believe in the fairness of Tao. Since Tao is fair, then leave everything to Tao to arrange and deal with. What we need to do is to be non-attached and abandon ourselves. The world is faultless. All faults lie within ourselves. The absolutely beautiful things are only for the enjoyment of absolutely beautiful lives, and no soul in hell has been wronged. Do you think that you are in your current situation because you have been wronged? Hasn't everything been created by yourself? Reality is the projection of one's own consciousness. If there is something wrong, the problem lies in your own consciousness. Sometimes it is easy for us to blame the government and the leaders for all of our problems. In fact, the root cause is still our own. It will take a long speech to explore this truth, so I will just end it here. I'm conducting an experiment of copying the 1,000-year world of the kingdom of heaven in the human world. This experiment has been going on for 11 years. The Chanyuan celestials who have participated in the experiment can testify what are the results of being oneself and abandoning oneself. All those who have insisted on being themselves have left, and those who have abandoned themselves have stayed. If what Xuefeng has said is not right, then what the God, Buddha, and Celestial has said must be right. 成为你自己的提法是无稽之谈. The idea of be yourself is nonsense. Xuefeng, March 23, 2021. Translated by Chinyu, edited by Peter. There are a lot of expressions of be yourself on the internet and in WeChat groups, which means not to compare yourself with others, not to listen to others' opinions about yourself, and not to imitate others, but to live as who you are and live your life yourself. The thought is good, and the purpose is right, but it's an unattainable aspiration. First, you is difficult to determine. This is an ambiguous concept that can neither be quantified nor clearly defined. Who am I? Where did I come from? Where will I go? Without solving these three problems, how can I find myself? From the perspective of reincarnation, some people may be reincarnated from pigs. Being yourself and be yourself means continuing to live as a pig. Some people may be reincarnated from rats, and being yourself means to be a rat. So, where are you from? Being yourself means go back to where you came from. People are the products of society, and social changes will lead to changes in people. For example, with communication, people used to send letters delivered by people or delivered on horseback. Later, it was conducted by the post office and then by telephone. Today, communication depends on the internet, WeChat, and video channels. I wonder what kind of communication does become yourself use? Can you not change with the changes in society? How can you be yourself? People are malleable and flexible. No one knows what kind of person he will become in his lifetime. Ask the prisoners in a prison if they had planned to be prisoners before they were imprisoned. Ask Hitler if he had made the choice to become the culprit of World War II. Are they trying to be themselves? Or haven't they become themselves? Being yourself has a terrible consequence, that is, to isolate oneself from society, to live in the state of beauty that you have imagined, entertaining yourself without knowing that danger is approaching you, to feel that you have become a Buddha or a celestial, indulging in self-intoxication and self-delusion, but the actual situation is that you have been abandoned by society. The reality is, I cannot become myself. I must abide by the laws that control society. I must abide by the current social operating rules. I can't lose my temper and kill people if I wish to. I must compromise when I should, retreat when it's time to retreat. I cannot just go my own way. I cannot help but consider the feelings of people around me. If people around me hate me, and I still stubbornly choose to be myself, then am I a granite-headed walking dead? Other things that cannot be quantified and clearly defined are conscience, mind, self-nature, love, and so on. These are deceptive concepts, such as conscience. Who can quantify and define conscience? Who knows whether someone's conscience is red or black? The best way is not to talk about good or bad conscience, but deal with each other in accordance with the contractual relationship. For example, with self-nature. What is self-nature? In the so-called perfect self-nature, all things are the manifestation of our nature. These all cannot be quantified and clearly defined. How do we perfect our nature? Can our nature produce 10,000 kinds of dharma or not? If yes, please show it to everyone. Another example is love. Originally, love is just a state of life. Once love is spoken from the mouth, it is no longer love. When you say, I love you, how do you love? Is it that you will give me $10 million or a bouquet of roses? Or will you wash my feet? Or cook me a potato to eat? Words that sound beautiful may just be deceptive tricks. In Western society, there is no Buddhism, no Wang Yangming, no Rinpoche, no Karmapa, but there are many Nobel Prize winners. It is easy to be a master in the East, but it is not easy to be a Nobel Prize winner, because the former can play with concepts. Whoever plays with the concept well enough can be a master, but the latter must be rigorous, meticulous, and must work hard. Being yourself can go to hell. Abandoning yourself is the correct path. We welcome the birth of craftsmen, scientists, sages, and people who are unselfish and selfless to work for the happiness of the working people. 冲突发生在野蛮与野蛮、野蛮与文明之间. Conflicts occur between barbarism and between barbarism and civilization. Xuefeng, March 23, 2021. Translated by Chinyu, edited by Peter. Conflicts will occur between barbarism and between barbarism and civilization, but no conflicts will occur between civilization and civilization. If we see two people, two tribes, two ethnic groups, or two countries fighting, there is no doubt that either both are barbaric, or one is barbaric and the other is civilized, but there will never be a conflict between two civilizations. If the fight between the two parties is extremely brutal, it must be a conflict between two groups of barbarians. If the fighting between the two parties is not so cruel and sometimes a compromise is made, and occasionally there is a truce, but overall, the fighting always continues, it must be a conflict between barbarism and civilization. Where there is conflict, there must be barbarism. The so-called barbarian is not keeping promises, not following rules, not fulfilling a contract, always wanting to take advantage of the other party, always wanting to control the other party, and always wanting to take the other party's possessions as his own. If there was a conflict between two people, and each believed that he was right, but in terms of the nature of the conflict, either the two people were both barbarians, or one of them must be a barbarian, it is impossible for both of them to be civilized. From this, we can draw the conclusion that those who often clash with other people must be barbarians, and are definitely not civilized people. Generally speaking, it is the barbarian who acts unjustly and forcefully in a conflict. The more one is good at compromising and self-reflecting, the more civilized they must be. There is a special phenomenon that when two or more barbarians encounter civilization, in order to deal with civilization together, the barbarians will temporarily unite and confront the civilization as allies. At this time, there will be peace between the two barbarians. They will not be in conflict with each other. But when their common enemy disappears, the temporary peace between the two barbarians will be broken, and mutual conflict will definitely occur between them again. This fact is determined by the nature of barbarism. 人与人之间冷酷一点好不好? Would it be good if people could treat each other a way that is more uncaring? Xuefeng, March 22, 2021. Translated by Qin Yu, edited by Peter. Undoubtedly, people like to be warm, concerning, caring, soothing, comforting, supporting each other, and jointly resisting their misfortunes and tribulations on the journey of life. After experiencing the ups and downs of life, I found that people spend too much time and energy in taking care of emotions between people in their lives. Therefore, I will offer an unconventional way of thinking. What if people would treat each other in a way that is a little less caring? In the animal world, in order to survive, all birds are uncaring. Once they hatch and feed their children to the stage where they are foraging on their own, the adult bird decisively implements an uncaring policy on the children. They pull out and expel the children from the nest and let them look for food and survive in nature. It is almost the same for mammals. As soon as they can find food for themselves, parents generally do not care very much for their offspring. Humans are different from animals. People care for each other. Even when parents are very old, they still want to find ways to care for and look after their children. It was reported that there is a mother whose son obtained a doctorate degree in the United States. After the son's returning to China, he did not look for a job. Instead, he stayed at home and played games all day even when he reached his 40s. All his living expenses depended on his mother, who was in her 70s and suffered from poor health. Most parents have this experience. In their children's childhood, when their children are upset, rolling around and crying on the ground, the parents will try to persuade their children to be happy. Especially the grandparents, who may love their grandchildren more, will try by every means to make them happy. In fact, husbands and wives will consider each other's emotions even more. When one is unhappy, the other has to try to persuade the other to be happy. From the beginning of a romantic relationship through marriage and into old age, couples spend an enormous amount of time and energy caring for each other emotionally. To maintain a good functioning of the relationship between people, one must take care of the other's emotions. Even if they make trouble unreasonably, the other one must also take care of their emotions. The problem is that people are imperfect, and there will always be emotional outbursts. The price people pay for taking care of emotions is huge. Is it okay to be less caring with people? For example, when a child rolls on the ground and cries, not only do you not persuade him to behave himself and instead, you give him 2 slaps on his bottom, what will happen? I do not think he will roll around and cry anymore. For example, after having raised your child to 18 years of age, you then let him find his own means of livelihood, Even if he goes to college, let him find a way to pay the tuition fee on his own. In this way, the child will become a person with a strong ability to survive independently in the future. As for buying a house and getting married, it all should depend on the child's own ability to pay for it, and parents should no longer have to worry about how to pay for them. For example, what if between husband and wife, once the wife cries, makes trouble and threatens to hang herself, the husband scolds, beats, and threatens to kill her? Good grief! Do not give in and do not consider her emotions. In this way, the relationship may become more harmonious, beautiful, and healthier. Let the strong live beautifully, and let the weak linger out a feeble existence. This is in line with the laws of nature. Here is one point. People who are unable to work, such as the elderly and disabled, need to be taken care of by the strong. As long as they have the ability to work, they on no account should be taken care of. If you have the ability to work, why should others take care of you? I am not interested in charity and relief services. Human beings should encourage the strong to do something more substantial. People should follow the strong. In international relations, unite with the strong countries. As for weak and poor countries, best to let them die. In Xuefeng-style communism, I emphasize dictatorship and Superman philosophy and deny democratic mechanisms. Whoever is strong can take charge. Whoever contributes the most can be the leader. Whoever has the greatest ability can be the leader. Whoever can be selfless can be the leader. Isn't this fair and just? In Xuefeng-style communism, all people must participate in labor, and whoever does not work, throw them out. Whoever is lazy, throw them out. Whoever is always in a bad mood and disgruntled, throw them out. Whoever bullies people, throw them out. Everyone must be of value, must create value, and if they have no value, throw them out. In Xuefeng-style communism, the most annoying people are those who talk a lot and do nothing, and those who give advice. And the most favored people are those who say, I will take care of it. Do not offer help if someone does not ask for it. This is one of the values of life genuine. Isn't it uncaring? Is this correct? I do not know. Only practice and time can prove it and give the answer. 好无止境，坏无底线. There are no limits to goodness and badness. Xuefeng, March 18, 2021. Translated by Qinyu. Edited by Peter. What is the highest state of goodness? Answer. There is no highest state for goodness. It has no limit. What is the lowest state of badness? Answer. Badness has no lowest state. It has no limit. Due to the needs of entertaining guests, I have grapes available for 365 days a year. American, Canadian, and Brazilian grapes are all available. Red, purple, black, and green grapes are all available. Large, small, round, and long grapes are all available. I have tried all kinds of sour, sweet, and sweet, and astringent grapes and have gotten the impression that these are all of the grapes that exist in the world. However, on March 10, 2021, I got to eat a different kind of grape, which is Mexican, green, big, seedless, with thin skin, sweet, and very moist. I never thought that there were such high-quality grapes in the world. Do not mention streams to him who has seen a great ocean. The clouds that circle Wu's peak are the only clouds for him. After eating this kind of Mexican grape, I am afraid that no other grapes in the world will be as appealing to my mouth anymore. But wait a moment. Goodness has no limit. There may be grapes that are better than these Mexican grapes on the earth, and if not on the earth, they must be in the 1,000-year world and the 10,000 world. With the changes of time, space, and climate, grapes better than Mexican grapes may be discovered one day. In 1988, I was a teacher in a middle school. Once, the principal held a dinner and asked each teacher to bring 2 dishes so that we could taste the cooking of each teacher. When I tasted a teacher Kai's dishes, which were extremely unpalatable, considering teacher Kai's face and dignity, I held my breath and swallowed them. 30 years have passed. This scene and the unpalatable dishes at that time are still vivid in my eyes. How could people make such unpalatable dishes? Is there any food in the world that tastes worse than teacher Kai's dishes? It's definite, because badness has no bottom line. I know from the Mexican grapes that there are better spaces in the universe, and they must be more beautiful than the most beautiful place on Earth. There must be species that are absolutely beautiful in life. Where are they? These absolutely beautiful things must be waiting to be enjoyed by absolutely beautiful lives. When our own quality becomes more and more beautiful, we will certainly encounter an absolutely beautiful time and space and an absolutely beautiful life. Goodness has no limit, and there must be absolute beauty above perfection. I have no doubt about this. From this, we can infer how precious life is. Imagining an absolutely beautiful time and space makes one so excited. As long as we continuously improve and perfect the quality of our own lives, all the good things will appear on the journey of our life. Ram Teacher Kai's dishes. We know that there is a kind of badness in this world that is unimaginable, such as poisonous steamed buns, poisonous fruits, poisonous vegetables. Badness has no limit. There are many things worse than toxic food, like cutting off a man's limbs and drowning him in a wine jar with only his head exposed and slowly torturing him to death. There is no limit for bad things. Knowing that badness has no limit, we should be cautious on the journey of our lives, cherish our time, and run towards the light every day. Otherwise, once we fall into the mud of badness, the sea of bitterness is boundless. Goodness has no limit. Let's constantly trek and climb toward the new oasis for life, the 1,000-year world, the 10,000-year world, and the Elysium Celestial Islands continent. 看看你是否正走在前往天国的路上. Check and see if you are on the way to heaven. Xuefeng, February 1st, 2021. Translated by Chinyu, edited by Peter. I clearly remember an evening in the summer of 1963. At that time, there were no newspapers, no radios, and of course no TVs and mobile phones. People's knowledge was passed on through chatting. At that time, every evening after dinner, the adults gathered together to brag and chat. The children either sat or stood quietly listening to the adults bragging, or just ran around and played. The reason why I can clearly remember that evening is because an uncle said, "When it is noontime where we are, it is midnight in some places. When it is summer where we are, it is winter in some places." I remember that everyone burst into laughter and said that uncle is whimsical and what he is saying is nonsense. In the thinking of people in the countryside at that time, as long as where I am is daytime, everywhere is daytime, and as long as what I feel is summer, it is summer everywhere else on earth. Then, when I say that there is a heaven in the universe, and that heavens are different everywhere, would you say that I am whimsical and talking nonsense? Do you think that heaven is the same as on earth? If I say that there is no sun and no night in the 1,000-year world of heaven, and the sun in the 10,000-year world of heaven is always fixed in the same place, and everything in the Elysium Celestial Islands continent is created by transformation, do you think I am out of my mind? People's understanding of the great world is based on their own limited cognition, and to understand the infinite world with limited cognition is like a blind man trying to figure out what an elephant is by just touching one part of it. The first time I went abroad was to Zimbabwe, Africa, where I felt the beauty of heaven for the first time. On the third day in Zimbabwe, I secretly made up my mind that I would never leave Zimbabwe again. I stayed there for 17 years. What I want to say is that there is an infinitely beautiful place in this universe that no one can imagine, and that is heaven. Now, please check if you are on your way to heaven. There are 3 steps to see if you have crossed the path to heaven. The first step, you often yearn for distance. You feel that there are respectable, amiable, and lovable people in the distance, and there are endless beautiful sceneries in the distance. You love life, but you feel that you are a little out of place with the environment that you are in. You are busy every day for your survival, but deep in your heart, you do not like, even hate this kind of rushing. Inside, you do not like to work for money, power, status, and reputation. You just want to be happy, joyous, free, and blessed in life. You hate to see people controlling other people, hate being swayed and controlled by people and your environment. You hope that one day there will be a great person in your life who will take you far away, to a place you have missed very much. When you have these thoughts and feelings, you are actually on the way to heaven. The second step, you do not want to get married. You instinctively hate family life. You want to escape from marriage and family life. From the people you know before your eyes, you do not want to fight for the few people in front of you. You are crying inside. You feel very tired. You are eagerly looking for another way and channel out for yourself through the internet and WeChat and other media. You do not want to foster secular ties with anyone anymore. You like light association with people instead of deep ones. But in your heart, you are willing to meet a beloved one to whom you can deliver your whole body and soul. You are struggling between ideals and reality, hoping to end your current life trajectory and to immediately step into another unfamiliar field that is completely different from that of your past, the field that you have been waiting for a long time. When you think, feel, and work toward your ideal direction and goal, you are already on the way to heaven. The third step, you have completely stepped out the maze of affection. You are working hard to end your secular ties. You are actively and optimistically accumulating mental and spiritual wealth. You are pulling out the jealousy, comparison, complaining, anger, and other weeds and toxic weeds from your soul garden. You start to feel only the messages that make you happy. You are gradually moving away from the concepts and shackles of country, nation, political party, religion, and family and are looking for people who resonate with your own wishes. Happiness, joy, freedom, and blessedness have become the norm in your daily life. You will never hurt anyone, any life, and the natural environment. You are especially eager to integrate into the idyllic life of nature as soon as possible, to live a life of working and resting as the sun rises and sets, where no one pockets anything found on the ground and doors are not bolted at night. All these phenomena show that you are on your way to heaven. Whether or not you can go to heaven has nothing to do with your diploma, wisdom, status, wealth, appearance, reputation, whether you have read the scriptures or chanted sutras, whether you have formally acknowledged someone as your master and met many masters and capable persons, and has nothing to do with whether you are talkative and eloquent, has nothing to do with how many good deeds you have done in the past. It is only related to your nature of Tathagata and is closely related to your state of mind. May the wise men who are walking on the road to heaven not hesitate and not stop in their steps. As long as they are sincere and continue to trek and climb, they will be able to achieve their dreams and realize their ideals to reach heaven. 事实是最好的审判官. Facts are the best judges. Xuefeng, January 27, 2021. Translated by Chinyu and edited by Peter. No matter how charming, how beautiful, or how extravagantly colorful your words may be, they are worthless. Let them be confirmed by facts. Any theory or preaching that is not supported by facts is not credible. Any conclusive discourse that cannot be verified by facts is the resorting to sophistry and is irrational. Theories that have been proven to be unworkable, including those in the so-called classics, have all been fabricated. All theories and discourses that have not been verified by facts are falsehoods and should be dismissed. If in the face of facts, you still resort to sophistry, try to cover them up in every possible way, try to find all kinds of excuses, and argue with others about them, it can surely be said that you are unreasonable. We cannot prove the rationality and correctness of one theory using another theory, just as a lie cannot prove itself not a lie by still another lie. The only way to prove its rationality and correctness is to show the facts. If the facts cannot prove that you are right, then all your theories and preaching are false. If you say that you can grow a 200-kilogram Chinese cabbage, well, do it and show us your 200-kilogram Chinese cabbage. If you say that you are a Buddhist master, okay, first, educate a Buddha and let us see the result. If you say that you are a master of traditional Chinese culture and are proficient in traditional culture, okay, please let us see the facts about your respect for your parents, harmony between you and your wife, harmony in your neighborhood, and the filial piety in your children. It's easy to speak big and beautiful words, but they only count when you can put them into practice. Otherwise, they are only catchphrases and are all a form of self-deception. To verify whether a person has real talents, real connotation, and whether he lives up to his words, we should not listen to what he says, but we should see what he is doing and what he has done. Facts are the best judges. To verify whether a set of theories and a doctrine are reasonable, legal, and will conform to human nature, we can only let the facts speak for themselves, because facts are the best judges. If there are no facts, they are just nonsense. Respecting facts is the basic morality of a human being. 观世间百态明天国之路. Observe the human natures of the world and understand the way to heaven. Xuefeng, November 14, 2020. Translated by Chinyu and edited by Peter. I have traveled 20 years on the path of life Changyuan, the way of the greatest creator. Looking back, I feel more and more that I have chosen the right path. This path is the way to heaven. Other than that, I haven't seen any other way that is simpler, easier, clearer, and more direct. The most direct evidence is that more than 70 Chanyuan celestials have become